can't find a seconder usually when I prepare this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele, backwoods Southern lawyer. I have my partners in crime with me today. Mr. Paul Ripp's here at my home during the COVID, trying to stay as far away as we can. And Mr. Captain Raines Russian joining us from Houston.
Yeah, we holding it down. It was 91 degrees in my garage yesterday. Right now it's 62. So let pneumonia season begin, as if we ain't got enough shit to worry about.
Right.
Nicely put, my friend.
Well, I went to the beach yesterday for a little bit, and I'm telling you, it was absolutely gorgeous and gin clear. And there was 15 people on the beach, so it was a perfect beach day. And that's probably the last 85 degrees we're going to see for a while.
So I got a story I want to lead with, okay?
Right.
The Associated Press obtained a graphic 27-second audio clip of a Louisiana State Trooper implicated in the 2019 death of a black man, Ronald Greene. It's the most direct evidence to emerge yet after troopers initially blamed Greene's death on injuries from a car crash. The family has maintained the crash was not serious enough to kill him and that troopers are covering up the real cause of Greene's death. Colleague. He said, quote, "I beat the ever-living F out of him and choked him, trying to get him under control." The trooper continued saying, quote, "We finally got him in handcuffs when a third man got there, and the son of a B was still fighting. He was spitting blood everywhere, and all of a sudden, he just went limp." Louisiana State.
Sound familiar?
Louisiana or Baldwin County?
It's all on. It was all happened on I-10.
Oh, right. Sounds like Baldwin County, doesn't it?
Well, Raines, have you heard about this story? This gentleman's name was Ronald Greene.
Yeah, I have heard about it recently, and I just think it's another. It's what did I say earlier? It's a chapter 46 in the Hoss-Mack handbook for how to cover up something your deputies did. Hide behind pending investigation.
And that's
don't ever release it. Wait for the story to die.
Right.
You know, wait for the news cycle to eat it and consume it and be done with it, and you'll never have to talk about it unless somebody like the Lagniappe likes to fire under your ass and gets lawyers involved.
Right.
But it's just like everything else. My daddy told me when I was a young boy and I was going over to New Orleans to drink with the rest of those fools when I was only 18, 19 years old. He said, "Look, son, if a Louisiana State Trooper ever gets behind you on your way back, you got to keep driving until you hit NASA. And don't pull over till you cross the Mississippi state line."
Sound advice.
I'd say the same thing to anybody. In Baldwin County. If a Baldwin County sheriff's deputy gets behind you, turn around and don't pull over till you're at the battleship, son. Because at least the Mobile cop will be able to witness them shooting you. And there'll be somebody to testify to the grand jury.
That would not be my advice to anyone out there who's being pursued by law enforcement. No, sir. So I got to do some COVID numbers real quick. For some reason, the Johns Hopkins GIS database website's all whacked. So is, I guess, Alabama's link to that, the Alabama COVID-19 dashboard. It's non-functional, but I did get the numbers off of it. Globally, we have 39,068,000 cases with 1,100,000 deaths, just to round it off.
Harry, you're presenting, but there's no photo up there. You want to throw a graphic up there that shows that?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Like I said, internet's all yompy.
Yep, and Fairhope too. We're also, Alabama this morning was 15% up in an upswing. So that's the latest I've seen on it.
So we've got
all us Democratic idiots here in the Democratic city of Houston are down 2.9% this week because of all the bullcrap mask wearing that we do and social distancing we do, that doesn't do anything. We're down 2.9%.
Foolishness.
So I'm pretty happy with the people of Harris County, Texas. We're holding it down and keeping it down out here, and I hope that trend continues.
Well, you're the only ones, because the U.S. has, let's just say, 8 million cases. That's too many nines and sevens. Is 7,997,969 confirmed cases in the United States, with 217,987 deaths. Alabama's portion of it is 170,374 cases with 2,786 deaths.
Well, you know, at this point, what's the point? You know, I think everybody's kind of made their bed with it, picked what side of the fence they're on, and we're either everybody on one side of the fence is going to survive and everybody on the other side of the fence is going to die. And that's.
Well, I remember when we started talking about this on the podcast, we were at 60,000 and they were projecting 100,000.
It was going to go away, man.
And I couldn't wrap my head around 100,000. We're now over 200,000, and we still have people in the area that absolutely refuse to think that this is any threat.
So in response to what they perceive as a incompetent president, several conservatives have come together and created what they're calling the Lincoln Project, and they have been assaulting President Trump at every turn online. So I want to watch just a short introductory video so everybody will get a chance to see what I'm talking about.
Project, launched today and formed by several of Trump's fiercest conservative critics, has already raised over $1 million in its pursuit to defeat Donald Trump.
Announced the creation of the Lincoln Project, including George Conway,
Steve Schmidt,
John Weaver,
Mike Madrid,
Jennifer Horn,
Reid Galen,
Ron Steslow,
Rick Wilson.
I would have them change the name to the Losers Project.
The president not happy with a new ad from a group of conservatives who haven't been shy in going after him.
Shortly after that ad aired, the president of our country logged into Twitter to settle some scores. An absolute hissy fit, a full tantrum.
Group called the Lincoln Project. They just released this video.
That is
The
sad.
Lincoln Project recently launched that ad. The group plans to purchase television and digital ads in several battleground states. The PAC's mission is, quote,
We are Republicans and we want Trump defeated.
It's okay not to like this guy and to think he shouldn't be president, and it's okay to do something about it.
To go into the swing states where the race will be decided in 2020 and to make a meaningful difference.
The Lincoln Project is about defeating Donald Trump and Trumpism at the ballot box.
These are Republicans.
So, Raines, are these the bad guys along the walls with the clipboards? Or
Ooh, boy, my time to shine.
How many times has this happened in history, Raines?
Well, to be honest, it's happened a lot. There's always a group of camp jumpers who will jump on one side or be recruited to one side because their candidate is either not moderate enough or not extreme enough, and they'll do it. And they'll hop the fence. That happens pretty much every election. There's somebody. But I don't think it's been in modern history where we have to deal with television and social media has something that's got this much traction.
Leadership is not just about sitting in the pilot seat. It's about knowing what you're doing and taking responsibility for it. Being prepared, ready, and able to handle anything that might come your way. I've been flying over this country for 53 years. 53 years of flights you'd never heard about, and one that you've heard everything about.
They're calling it Miracle on the Hudson. Everyone on board, 155 people, make it out alive.
My whole life prepared me for that moment. From my father, a naval officer in World War II, I learned the awesome responsibility of command. From my service as an Air Force officer and a fighter pilot, I knew that serving a cause greater than oneself is the highest calling. And it's in that highest calling of leadership that Donald Trump has failed us so miserably. Now it's up to us to overcome his attacks on our very democracy. knowing nearly 250,000 Americans won't have a voice, casualties of his lethal lies and incompetence. 11 years ago, I was called to my moment. Now we are all called to this moment. When you look down at our beautiful, boundless country, you don't see political divisions. It reminds us of who we are and what we can be. That we are in control of this nation's destiny. All we have to do is vote him out.
Vote Vets and the Lincoln Project are responsible for the content of this advertising.
Ever come around? I'm gonna explain to y'all a little bit about political advertising and the way it's been approached in the last 30 years. There have been a lot of political scientists, myself included, who've looked into why negative ads are good or bad. And one of the most profound conclusions that political scientists have come up with is that whenever there is a vacuum in the issues that are being discussed, that's when the negative ads really come out. If you look back to the 88 election between Dukakis and Bush, right? That election cycle was bereft of hard issues. Okay, there was not a lot of, they were being asked by the media to really get into stuff like abortion and drug abuse, and the federal deficit was getting out of control. And it was really neither one of them would really dig in on the issues. So they started running attack ads on each other, and the election became about the attack ads. Do you remember Willie Horton? Remember the Willie Horton scenario? Willie Horton, the Dukakis furlough program and all that? That was all brought up because, all of a sudden, Mike Dukakis not being tough on crime and letting prisoners out, that became an issue that beat out drug abuse or abortion or any of the other big talkers. That became an issue because they made negative ads out of everything, and all they did was go back and forth. That's what happens when you're in a vacuum of issues. What the Lincoln Project is doing is flipping the script a little bit on that. We are focused on the issues, but the Lincoln Project is taking Republican attack ads and turning them on the Republican Party. If you look at the the stuff they've put out, it's Republican conservative style attack ads that Republicans usually run against Democrats, and they flip that script around and are running them against Republicans.
Okay, well,
and that's what's leaving a really bad taste in people's mouth.
But the issue with these guys is this is not the Republican Party. It is the cult of Trump.
Correct. Absolutely.
He's paid no price for being and I hate to say this, the bullshitter in chief. Because when you get up there and you shoot from the cuff and you tell people things that I don't know.
When you tell him
he doesn't care if he says something that's verifiable or not.
Well, like pre-existing conditions, and say that I'm not going to eliminate pre-existing conditions when in fact they are in court trying to eliminate pre-existing conditions. That's about as bald-faced a lie as you can get.
Well, these guys are, I don't know, I'm sure you recognize these two guys. Steve Schmidt ran John McCain's presidential campaign against Obama. And who's this chap here?
That's Rick Wilson.
He was in the Bush administration.
Bush guy.
And these guys know exactly what they're strapping on.
They committed professional suicide like yours truly.
Right.
Well, I don't know about that. I believe that there's a long-term strategy there, and I think they are not focused on winning back the Republican Party. They are focused 100% on getting President Trump out of office.
Right.
And they make no bones about that. They don't put up a mission statement that says, we're here to bring true conservative values back. No. The Tea Party ruined that for everybody. They're here with one clear mission that says we want him gone. And we're going to devote 100% of our time, resources, and talents to that and that alone.
And there's a lot of talent on that team. So did you know that they're all there was a 60-minute story. I'll throw it up as a link on the end of the video, but they're all at some kind of place out in the desert where they're all living together, like in this lodge or something.
No, there's only a couple of them.
Well,
not all of them.
6 or 7.
George Conway isn't living.
Oh, I'm sure he's not.
Yeah.
George Conway's at home with his daughter trying to take her phone away 24/7.
Yeah, really.
All right, let's stick to the subject. So, Hurricane Sally, the road to recovery. Paul Ripp can tell you what's going on with that maneuver.
We like to call it a complete lack of segue until our next segment.
Well, thank you.
Well, Sally's going to really wake up Baldwin County. I don't think they had any idea the amount of debris that's out there. It is just incredible. Like I said, I went to the beach yesterday and all the way down to Fort Morgan, all the way back up through the back roads, Magnolia Springs. It is just everywhere. On 13, there's one area that's a quarter mile long and about 10 feet by 10 feet of debris. I don't even know how many trucks it'd take just to clean that quarter mile up. So we're going to be hearing some pretty startling figures here.
Let me show you a little video real quick.
The cleanup continues not just on land, but out in the water, too. Today, some of the last sunken boats were pulled out of Pensacola Bay. Cody Long is live tonight on Palafox Pier. And, Cody, it looks much different out there a month later.
Yes, it does, Roseanne. Salvage crews, they have been out here for the past several days as they get the last bit of debris and the last few boats out of the water. This is what the Palafox Pier looked like just after Hurricane Sally made landfall. It was a mess. Boats everywhere they weren't supposed to be. Some partially submerged, others completely underwater.
Oh, I saw boats on the top of boats.
Getting it all cleaned up. On the surface, working a barge. It's a slow and methodical process to get them all removed, along with the debris that sank to the bottom of the bay.
So, Raines, how much fuel you figures on each of those boats that sank?
Well, enough to make a mess of things.
And bilge and sewerage and
easily enough for Boom Boom Pittman to get a $500,000 contract to boom it all up.
Well, one thing I'll tell you from living in Central America is that if a boat goes underwater in salt water and someone wants to sell you the engine at a good price, I assure you that engine may run for a while, but once that electrical harness and everything else is wet, it's just a matter of time before you start having complications you can't fix.
So, let me clue in our listeners real quick on a little something that they may not know about those groups out there doing that awesome work of cleaning up those boats from the bottom of the bay. Marine salvage is modern day legitimized piracy.
It is.
Those guys aren't out there cleaning up because they need to get the boats and the fuel out of the water and everything else. If you notice, none of those barges had pieces of pier or piling or anything else on them. It was just boats, because the marine salvage laws work in such a way that these guys who are basically tow truck drivers of the sea get out there and they salvage those boats because they get money for them. And there's right of salvage and right of refusal, and the legal aspect of it's enough to where I know a guy that does nothing but marine salvage law, and there is a pretty penny to be made for every single one of those boats that gets picked up.
Oh yeah.
And those guys are out there making money. They are not doing it to better Pensacola Bay or anything else. They're doing it to make money. That's it. They're not out there picking up junk off the bottom. They're not out there picking up trees. They're not out there picking up pilings and piers. They're picking the boats up, and they're doing it for money. So don't get twisted and think, wow, what a great service these guys are doing. They are making a significant amount of coin to do what they're doing on that show.
So to your point, about speciality of admiralty law. You know how we do this disclaimer every time that there's no representation made, blah, blah, blah. There are only two segments of lawyers who can claim to have speciality. One of them is admiralty and one of them is patent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's right.
All right,
right.
So
Admiralty.
On to another story. It's a follow-up from last time. Antoine Smith. You got that one ready for us, Paul?
Oh, yeah. Antoine Smith is the Pensacola man charged with double homicide of the utility contractors in Alberta. This is by Gabe Tynes, Lagniappe this week. Smith is 36 years old, had just got out of jail not too long ago. The two victims were from Seattle, and they're thinking that it was a drug deal gone bad. Hoss Mack said that there were 28 local investigators that were working the case, and what finally opened it up for them, believe it or not, is that one of the victims had a dog who had the personal identification information chip, and that's how they got a lead as to who these guys were and everything.
Wow.
Now, Antoine Smith, separately, is being looked at by Crestview Police Department in Florida.
His girlfriend disappeared off the face of the damn earth about a year and a half ago.
Claudia Stallsworth, and this was in 2017. Last person she was seen with was Stallsworth. So all of this is coming together. The guy looks like he is one more really bad guy. So, you're out of town and you're messing with somebody like this trying to get drugs or whatever the reason. Fatal move. He shot him in the car.
In their car. And took their car.
Then took their car. And Mobile police, paying attention to the bolo, picked him up, and the guy's driving the car, and there's blood all over the inside of the car. So we're not
riddled
talking
with
about
bullet. He shot him in the truck. It's got to be riddled with bullet holes too.
Yeah.
And he had drugs and money and a firearm.
Everything.
Yeah. So hold on one sec. I'll play a little clip.
We begin with continuing coverage tonight. Bond was denied this afternoon for Antoine Smith. He is the man charged with double homicide of hurricane relief workers in Alberta last week. Prosecutors calling him a danger to society and a flight risk.
Debbie Williams is joining us live now outside the courthouse. And Debbie, during this hearing,
Well, that's enough of that.
Yeah. He's not coming out of jail.
No, he is a good example of people who are too antisocial to live with the rest of us.
Correct.
And, we got to pay for him to go somewhere for the rest of his life.
Yep.
Makes sense to me.
Well,
all right, Raines, let's get back to some national news. Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed. There's a vacancy on the United States Supreme Court. The president has nominated Amy Coney Barrett. She is, I don't want to foul this up. She was born in 1972. She is a circuit judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit. President Donald Trump nominated her to that position in May of 2017. The Senate confirmed her in October of 2017. She was a law professor at Notre Dame, where she taught civil procedure, con law, and statutory interpretation. So, did I tee it up for you, Raines?
Well, I watched her statements and I watched her questioning during the Senate hearings, and I got a couple things to say about that. Not all of them are great. Not all of them are terrible either. She appears to be a very capable barrister. She does not strike me as the type of judge who has seen opposite the bench much of the courtroom. I doubt she's argued a whole lot of trials in her life, but and I think her law record will speak to that. But she is a competent judge, and she is of competent bona fide to become a Supreme Court justice. I am not going to get into her religious background because she is an originalist, much like Antonin Scalia was, and I have a great deal of respect for Justice Scalia, God rest his soul. But I gotta say, what kind of legacy do you seek if you accept a Supreme Court appointment where you've got to wake up every morning knowing that you are simply and completely an election stunt?
Right.
No one has any aspirations for you to ever rule on anything meaningful. No one's looking forward to you being a great lion of reason and the law. They're looking at you strictly as the worst president in the history of the United States, nominating you to try to get an edge in an election. I look back at Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I look back at Sandra Day O'Connor. And I ask myself, what were they thinking when they took their nominations? And when you look at their nominations, they were nominated for their merits, and they've left lasting legacies. I guess my only hope is that Justice Barrett gets confirmed, and she gets on the court. And sooner or later, she's going to be the one, a year from now, she'll be the one Supreme Court justice that nobody names when they list them. Oh, well, it's Thomas, so-and-so, and there's another one. There's another one.
Yeah,
and she'll be forgotten.
No, I think you're wrong. I think that because of her age, it will be the Barrett court one day.
You think so?
I think so. I think she's an overachiever. I think she graduated first in her class. I think whatever she puts her mind to, she will do it. And anyway, I see what you're saying about the one-trick pony, but she's going to be on the court for a long time. And I don't think she was evasive. I think she handled herself properly when asked direct questions about how she would rule on a case. She just said, I'm not going to answer that question, and I don't blame her.
Right.
Yeah, well, I agree with that, yeah.
But she doesn't have a whole lot of appellate rulings for us to look at to get a flavor.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It just doesn't seem like does she have the bona fide? Check. Does she have the time? Check. Does she satisfy the age requirement? Check. Oh, is she a closet ghoul? Yeah, very likely. But she doesn't strike me as Supreme Court material, and I wholly disagree that it'll one day be a Barrett Supreme Court.
All right.
There's people in that court a long time. It'll never be a Souter Supreme Court. It'll never be a Thomas Supreme Court. It was never a Ginsburg Supreme Court. It was never a Scalia Supreme Court. So I don't agree with just the fact that she's my age, that she's going to end up being the next John Roberts. No.
Female, conservative.
I thought her interview and everything was impressive. I mean, she's a very smart lady, but I have to go back to Mr. Lindsey Graham and read my lips and think of the hypocrisy of how they handled it back then, and them Lindsey Graham promising that he would not do this in any other administration, or if it did come up, and what his position is. And I have a feeling that Mr. Lindsey Graham may be voted out in his home state for the very
money
reason.
Has poured into that district.
Well, oh yeah.
Have you been keeping up with how much money his opponent has raised?
Oh yeah.
Oh Lord, is he raising the money, man?
Yeah.
I'm liking what I'm seeing up there.
Yeah.
And he's crushing him in the debates.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'd like to see Lady Graham just voted right the hell out of that.
I would too.
So a couple things have broken recently, and social media has responded in a way that I feel we've all come to expect. So President Trump had a rally at the back steps of the White House, and he tweeted a picture of himself, and he said, "A total and complete sign-off from the White House doctors yesterday. That means I can't get it, immune, and can't give it. Very nice to know." October 11, 2020, 11:39 a.m. And it was flagged by Twitter, right?
Right.
Okay. So, Raines, here's where I need your brain, man. So, allegedly, Rudy Giuliani came by a laptop that Hunter Biden or somebody that looked like him dropped off at a New Jersey repair shop.
Oh, God.
And it's got a bunch of emails saying he's trying to extort money to in exchange for being in his father's presence or gaining his influence. So
I pass on
the
commenting.
story has been perpetuated online, even though everyone's very skeptical about the source of this laptop. And certain accounts have been removed. I hope this video won't be removed, seeing as we're advocates of free speech, open debate, open dialogue, so that it doesn't turn to violence. I think everyone's opinion should be protected.
Right.
I don't care if it's batshit nuts. Just like the QAnon question of the president the other night. There are people that are entitled to their batshit crazy opinions. Now, him perpetuating that seems a little batshit crazy to me.
As president of the United States.
Right. But everybody's entitled to their opinion, and taking this information down seems to me to feed into that QAnon batshit crazy ideal.
Let me tell you something about people that put any kind of stock to those type of conspiracy theories. Nothing about what you just said to them is credible or anything else. To them, everything revolves around those conspiracy theories, and you are not going to convince them otherwise.
You're not.
So to them, I say, fantastic. Believe what you want to believe. Just know that everybody that you know, everybody that you care about, everybody that you've ever respected laughs at you behind your back because you're an idiot.
Right.
And you've lost your mind. And everybody knows it, and they all say it, and they just nod and laugh when you talk. So whatever.
No sense arguing about it, really.
Mr. Ripp, it's time for the Ripp Report.
Well, the Ripp Report, we'll get back over to Lagniappe.
High-stepping turkeys, and you know what to say about a high-stepper.
This is another article by Gabe Tynes, request denied State Shield's contract with a court software provider. And as Lagniappe reported in August, the online service is owned in part by former Lieutenant Governor Steve Windom,
whose wife is on the Court of Criminal Appeals.
Right, and is currently in the 10th year of a 15-year contract.
Now, let me stop you for a second.
Right.
So the largest lobbying firm in the state of Alabama is what two people? Steve Windom and Blaine Gallagher.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, they represent the power company, all the people that have money to hire lobbyists.
Right,
so
right.
Keep going, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, in Lagniappe, the contract reveals that the company, in its 10th year of a 15-year contract, is at a minimum going to receive $82,500 a year when the system is fully integrated. Now, the general counsel for the Alabama Press Association, Dennis Bailey, said he finds it highly unlikely that the Alicourt court system or contract for the system qualifies as critical infrastructure as denied. Alabama's Open Court Record Act allows for exemption to the public disclosure of information related to critical infrastructure, quote unquote, quote, is it could reasonably be expected to be detrimental to the public safety or welfare or would otherwise be detrimental to the best interest of the public. Now, that's what they're saying in an effort to not disclose any details about the contract. Mr. Bailey goes on in the very end to say, I suspect that the vendor simply wants to keep secret the terms of the contract, so it'll be harder for competitors to present a competing plan or project. Bailey offered that they may have the best program in the world, but if not, the state could save money if other companies could see the terms of the contract and apply the bid apples to apples.
So they're saying it's critical infrastructure, just like a bridge.
Right. You know, they always throw in something like that. That sounds to me just like I have to agree with Bailey on that. Of course, I've had some disagreements with him as well, but on that one I would have to agree. Another thing in Lagniappe under Jeff Poore, what's with all those Doug Jones signs? And notably in our area, Baldwin County and Mobile, you're seeing a tremendous amount of Doug Jones signs. And everyone is saying Tommy Tuberville's going to beat him hands over. Mr. Jones, I do not have the figures in front of me, has raised a tremendous amount of money. And I believe that people are underestimating places like Huntsville and Birmingham and how the Democratic vote may come out during that time. So we'll just have to see. I think the race is going to be extremely close, and I will not be surprised if Doug Jones pulls it off. The other one by Dale Leash in Lagniappe, vacate debate. County needs help with jail expansion. The Mobile City Council will begin debate on giving up ownership of parts of 2 downtown streets that would allow the Mobile County Sheriff's Office to expand portions of the Metro Jail. The only thing I'd like to say to the public is look at how many jails we're talking about. County, state, city. They're writing more about building jails and jails than they are schools, you know? So it does make you wonder.
As someone who has had to go into that Metro jail before,
yeah.
If I were a criminal, I would steer clear of Mobile County for fear that I would be put in that hellhole of a Mexican-style jail. So if they were going to spend a little bit of money in Mobile County on the jail, I can't say that it's not warranted, okay?
Oh, well, Harry, I can tell that you have not been in Mexico.
But regardless of the number of beds that they expand it to, the judges will assume that that's how many people, how many prisoners or people they need to incarcerate.
Right.
They think that's the will of the people because they got a 4,000 bed jail. They need to put 4,000 people in it at all times.
Mm-hmm. Well, another article, Gabe Tynes, and this is in one of the Lagniappe series, and you should go to the series. This is also like the Straw Man series. You go and read the several publications or stories that are backdated that all relate to the same thing. And this is same as it ever was 50 years after the Bertie May case was argued in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. And after 34 years of litigation, Mobile's desegregation plan shows mixed results. And this is from the Bertie May Davis versus Board of School Commissioners of Mobile County, were named on behalf of the first student to appear in a list of plaintiffs that was dismissed until 1997, nearly 34 years after it was filed. This is a really good, in-depth article. There's no way I could critique this on the air and give it justice that it has. But if you like to, read a very good article like this, and it is the cover story, I suggest that you go and get yourself a Lagniappe. Couple of other things, Harry. As you know, right now, as we speak, in fact, Slappin' Mike McMillan over in Spanish Fort is in court. And
that's my best Bond whistle.
I anxiously await the end of the day to see how he is going to get out of this. I just can't wait to see how this is going to happen, because I fully expect that it is going to happen.
Well, I keep showing this battle plan, Paul.
Yeah.
During our podcast, so the siege operations at Spanish Fort. Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason I keep showing you that is there's a plan.
Oh, absolutely. Guarantee you there's a plan, and we'll hear about it. Now, Lagniappe is in court today. Gabe Tynes is covering this, so we'll find out. A couple of other things just to mention.
Can I?
Sure.
So I was in court this morning.
Yeah.
And I was there and heard the direct examination of the victim. And then I stuck around for some of the cross. Now, you could imagine that the particulars, something that I didn't know until today, until I heard her testimony, was that the reason they were at the front desk was she had been working on she had been assigned ancillary to her responsibilities as the magistrate for the police department. She handled the city Christmas parade and also had been assigned to develop a new website because they had a real dumpy website. So she spent 4 or 5 months on it, and it was given to somebody else to polish, and that person allegedly had erased, either intentionally or accidentally, all of the work that she had done. So they informed the mayor of that. He had gone to see the other person, had come back to the front desk, and was trying to manipulate the computer by touching the screen. He did not realize it was not a touch screen. So when she giggled, he turned around and allegedly slapped her in the face.
Gave her a Sean Connery.
So guess what the cross was all about?
What?
How she violated the policies of the city by going and getting a copy of the video that she didn't know existed or not. You know, she wanted to make sure she had some evidence. And as someone who had a bunch of video and audio disappear of them, I can understand exactly why she did it. But
that's after the fact.
All this is after the fact and completely irrelevant.
I mean,
what is relevant is why in the hell did the police chief resign on the 10th?
Well,
so she goes to the city attorney and tells him about it on the 21st. I mean, all this stuff is so at issue, and I'm sitting there going, what does this have to do with the fact that we just watched a video of this guy slapping this woman? What does it matter what happened afterwards? This isn't a civil trial. She's not suing for damages. This is him being held responsible for and it's harassment, not battery. Real low hanging fruit, right?
Well, a lot of people in Spanish Fort must not care about a woman being slapped on film because they.
Well, if you've given her the last word and she just won't accept it, that's the Sean Connery.
That's right. That's
version.
the Sean Connery thing. Well,
so we rename it Conneryville since people there don't seem to give a damn.
Let me mention a couple of broad things real quick. Anybody following the John McAfee with McAfee virus that, he was accused of murder in, or not accused, but it's thought that he was responsible. Knows he was responsible for the death of Greg Fall and Belize. And then it's just been a saga ever since then. Well, they just picked him up in Spain on income tax evasion. He's going to be coming back to the States. Those of you want to Google and follow that story, it's kind of interesting. And then something totally unrelated to that is on my street, I had a guy that had a gun in the console and a gun in the side panel of his truck, left the truck unlocked, and both guns have been stolen. Now he's accusing people in the neighborhood. If you are carrying a gun in your vehicle, take it out of your vehicle or lock your vehicle. Mobile is all the time on the TV telling people to please lock up your guns. God knows who ends up with them. And then the next thing is I want to give a shout out to the nurses and teachers, particularly the
and lawyers who have no choice but to show up because they have a job to do.
Well, yeah, but the teachers to me are one of the more gutsy ones that they're in class with all these kids. They're having to wear masks. You can just imagine what it's like. And I really, really, really respect them for what they're doing. And I pray for their safety. And thanks to the nurses, too. And those of you that don't believe in masks, the teachers and the nurses are wearing the mask. So you might want to take heed from that. The next thing is tomorrow, can you see that, Harry?
Yep.
Tomorrow at 3 o'clock at Page and Pallet, those of you that are really interested, Mr. Tommy Gallion III, who wrote Shadow Government, Southern Style, a very interesting book. Any of you that have read it, you should get it. It's about our politics and how crooked it is in Alabama. He will be at Page and Palette tomorrow at 3 o'clock. That should be a very interesting book signing. I, for one, will be there. I've got a couple questions I'd like to ask. And then the last thing I got, Harry, is I got my absentee ballot, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 statewide amendments, which I'm not going to read. Then we have Baldwin County has 4, and Baldwin County's local amendment 2 is the toll road for the Baldwin County Express. Very rarely would I ever think that I would agree with Dean Young on anything, but he's opposed to that toll, and I'm not so sure that I'm for that toll either. I don't believe we're being told all the facts. I think there's a lot of people with money invested. It's opening up a lot of new land, and just pushing it off on the tourist, I don't like that idea either. Tourists are coming down, and what's the first thing they do when they get in Baldwin County? Pay a toll. And then Baldwin County local, so I'm voting
and bypass every town on 59.
Right, and bypass every town on 59. And then there's the local amendment 3, which is the Rosenton Landmark District, and local amendment 4, which is the Barnwell Landmark District. Now, the only thing I can say about the landmark districts, I see what their concern is. However, these landmark districts, if they're opened up and they're under their own auspices, you can believe, you better bet there's going to be some building like crazy in their areas. And the thing that concerns me the most is these landmark districts are to avoid or prevent or prohibit the annexation by local law of property into a certain municipality.
So let me clarify something
real
quick.
Sure.
The only thing this landmark district does substantively is that it prevents the annexation of property by legislative act.
Right.
If you're in that district and you're contiguous to the what town would it be? Fairhope.
Fairhope.
And you want to come into the city, you can make your application and you come into the city and the boundary moves for the landmark district, okay? So the zoning that is in place will stay in place. They get their building permits if they're in the PJ. They get inspected by Fairhope. So I don't know that this does a whole lot. So I don't know that I'm opposed to it other than it's something else for us all to keep up with.
Well, let me ask you this, Eric.
From a land use perspective.
Let's say that the Barnwell Landmark District is passes. Okay, so now we're prohibited from, Fairhope's prohibited from annexing them. What about the free services that Fairhope provides to the same district area? Do you think it's fair that the municipality should provide those services if indeed it's an independent landmark district?
Well, yeah, because inside of their planning or extraterritorial planning jurisdiction, they get to enforce their subdivision regulations. Okay.
Yeah.
So they with that control comes the responsibility of police and fire. But of course, you don't have a full-time fire department in Fairhope. It's volunteer, right?
Volunteer, correct. And also, I, what I look at is I look at this and these landmark districts popped up, and these are created or proposed by our legislative delegation.
Hey, Paul, can I see that real quick?
Yeah.
Can I see the
legislative delegation, however, has not done anything to correct the sewer problem. So we don't have anything on the ballot that's going to regulate any sewers, but our legislative delegation is coming up with this. And the other thing that I have to say is that the legislative delegation, a lot of times these things pop up. You read them on the ballot. When were they ever proposed in front of the city? When were they ever explained to the general public? And that, I think, is a big failure on their part when they do that, is that people are just so ill-informed.
Yes.
And if you are ill-informed and you have a question as to which way to vote, vote no. That's the way I would.
Okay, so you missed the big ones.
Oh, well, I'll leave that to you, Harry.
Okay, so Baldwin County Amendment Number 1 is related to Baldwin County proposing an amendment to the Constitution of 1901, allowing the judge of probate to exercise equity jurisdiction concurrent with that of the circuit court in cases originally filed in the probate court of Baldwin County if the judge is a member of the Alabama State Bar. So you do realize that you don't have to be an attorney to be the probate judge. But if you are, they're going to let you sit in equity as well as law.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wait. To be a probate judge, you don't have to be a bar member?
No, sir. It's a popularity contest.
Didn't have to be bar members.
Haven't you been listening? Like 5 of my grandfathers were the probate judge in this county. It's political popularity contest. And so anyway, now we just happen to have someone who's popular who has a law degree.
Well, it ain't you. Who is it?
It's Harry Doleave, and he yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's not competent. I'm just saying we're changing the law. See, they tried to pass a law that required you to be a probate judge to serve here, and that didn't go anywhere. So now they're going to just give him the authority. Now, so if you're in probate court, even in a court where there is a judge sitting in equity that is an attorney, like over in Mobile, you can still remove it on anyone's request to the circuit court. Now you got to pay a new filing fee and all that. But anyway, that's typical. Anyway, I thought that was important because it will change the way some of these things happen. And further, our friends at the Judicial Inquiry Commission are getting some shakeups. They're changing some of the language about how they can remove and disqualify a judge. Maybe that's good, maybe that's not. All I know is it's a nebulous black hole when you send something to the Judicial Inquiry Commission.
Right.
Never had a response.
Speaking of nebulous black hole, and I don't want to get into it here on the podcast, but I want to after when we're just talking about it. Harry, let's discuss home rule as it pertains to those independent districts that we were talking about earlier.
Okay, so the other thing that it does right now, the chief of the Administrative Office of Courts, or the Administrative Director of Courts, is appointed by the Chief Justice. And they've done a good job of appointing competent people, but you understand it's still a political appointment. So this would change the way that person is appointed, and there would be it would be the entire Supreme Court would nominate somebody, and they'd come up with some kind of process. Sounds like a bunch of poppycock to me, but you know, I'm not the one that has to jump with that parachute if I'm one of the associate justices on the court. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a requirement that if you're a district court judge and you have a town of at least 1,000 people, you have to hold court in that town. Nobody's ever done that, and this just cleans up that part of the Constitution. So I don't know. I don't see anything nefarious in that, so I would probably be in favor of that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last but not least, everybody can pay attention today. Later on, I have a feeling that Mr. Times may be writing an article that'll go online for Lagniappe in reference to slapping Mike. So place your bets on how they're going to worm out of this, but I'm going to place my bet that he will be just like Chris Elliott, and he'll walk. And he'll be just like Paula Donardi and Fairhope, where the attorney just didn't even file the charges. That was their way of getting around it. So, like I said before, women, be sure if you're in Spanish Fort or Fairhope, you can't look to be having anybody help you in any way. If you get slapped on video, you better have a good man with you to beat somebody's ass.
Well, so I'm going to give you last word on this Lincoln project. I think it is. I've never heard of anything like this. Not heavy hitters like this, burning their careers to the ground over principle.
Right.
How about you, Raines?
I mean, it's been done before, but to this degree, with this integer of magnification because of the age of social media. I'm with you. These, I don't think their careers are over. I just think they're hopping sides.
I don't think so. I don't think they're interested in being Democrats. I think they're interested in taking over the Republican Party again.
I don't think they're interested in being Democrats either, but I don't think we're going to see the last of them after this election.
No, and it kind of gives me a little bit of a positive note to know that there are people out there, Republicans especially, that unlike Lindsey Graham, that are leaning on their principles and character, because that's what we need more of in politics than the swamp. You talk about the swamp doesn't have principle or characters in it.
So we know two things about Tommy Tuberville. He thinks that burning a flag ought to be a crime, and the other one is he's going to work with President Trump in every way he possibly can.
And what's he going to do if President Trump's not there and he's elected?
You know what? Let's just bring it down to principle.
Right.
If you really want to bring it down to principle.
We know nothing about the guy.
I got 3 words for everybody out there that's undecided on whether to vote for Doug Jones or Tommy Tuberville. John David Stroud. Google it.
John David Stroud. All right.
John David Stroud is?
Nope. I heard the name, I think.
John David Stroud just got slapped with hard time. He was Tommy Tuberville's partner in a hedge firm.
Yes.
Defrauded investors of over $3 million in a Ponzi scheme.
He got 10 years, didn't he?
Yeah, he got 10 years in the clink. And Tuberville missed the judge's axe, but he still had to refund $2 million of people's money that his firm had spent. Now, that's the kind of person you want to send to Washington? Go right ahead and keep retweeting your QAnon, and everybody keep laughing behind your back.
Right. And I'll tell you, folks, if you're Republican or Democrat and you're voting straight ticket each time, you're not using your head.
Let me tell you something about straight ticket real quick. I don't know. Do y'all have that in your voting laws now that you can't
yes,
vote?
I think there's only 6 states left with I may be wrong about that, but
look at your sample ballot. You can just do the line at the top and vote for all the Republicans.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is important. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you are going to do straight ticket voting, realize that the nonpartisan amendments, proclamations, and etc. do not count on straight ticket voting. If you fill out a straight ticket, you still have to go and individually vote for all the propositions and all the amendments that are on your ballot. So please, regardless of which side of the road you're on, make sure that you fill out your entire ballot so your entire vote gets cast.
Very good. Glad you mentioned that, Reid.
Yes, there.
Well, that's it for me.
I did want to tell some folks about a resource that we have here in Baldwin County. When you go to the Foley Public Library, if you go upstairs to the genealogy department, there's a very nice lady there who is the curator named Jeanette Underwood. And I had been running down all my genealogy stuff and didn't know anything about the Stills and wanted to know how they got here and whatever. And she blipped on the computer and she said, "What did you say your name is?" I said, "Harry Bartlett Still III." And she said, "So you're probably a descendant of a guy named Bartlett Still, huh?" And I said, "Oh, well, tell me about him." And she said, "The only record I have is he was in Company E of the 15th Confederate Cavalry for the entirety of the war." And I was like, "Oh, well, that explains it." But, I mean, what are the chances you be 46 years old and nobody ever told you were named for your great-great-grandfather who was a Confederate soldier?
They used to run around wearing masks like ghosts or something.
So then she prints off all this information for me and she says, "Well, you can sign up for the Sons of Confederate Veterans." And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that just now. Probably not a great time to, add that to my repertoire.
I don't believe I want to add that bumper sticker to my car. Right?
Thank you for that. Well, and I was like, well, I got like 8 other grandfathers that I could have chosen from if that was my goal. But anyway, it was very interesting, and they were from east of Bruton, a place called Antioch or somewhere. Macedonia.
East Bruton is a juke joint, 2 barbecue stands, and a tire shop.
This is out in the country on the Conecuh River, and there's still a cemetery there where his grave is. So
I talked to that woman in the genealogy department the other day about her job, and she said, I love my job. It's one of the easiest in Alabama because the genealogy in Baldwin County is just like the good old southern pine. It branches out a lot at the top where it's tall, but on the way down, it's straight and narrow.
I resemble that remark. All right, well, so that's it for this one. I may do a follow-up if Gabe breaks something before I get this thing done. Mm-hmm. So keep your eyes peeled.
We begin with continuing coverage. Spanish Fort Mayor Mike McMillan back in a Baldwin County courtroom today.
And this case stems from video alleging Mayor McMillan slapped then City Magistrate Lindsay Cooper. A verdict was announced just over an hour ago. WKRG.com mobile journalist Blake Brown has the judge's decision.
Yeah, that's right. We found out late this afternoon that Mayor Mike McMillan of Spanish Fort was found not guilty on that charge that he had slapped former city magistrate Lindsay Cooper. Lindsay Cooper was first on stand this morning. She testified about being slapped on October 1st of last year inside City Hall. Now, we did watch that video, which was leaked earlier this year on social media, showing that alleged incident. Cooper, who was serving as the city's magistrate at the time, claims Mayor McMillan, herself, and another employee were at the front desk discussing website changes she had been working on when she says the mayor got upset because the computer wasn't touchscreen. She says she laughed, and that's when Mayor McMillan allegedly slapped her. Mayor McMillan also took the stand around 2:45 this afternoon. Now, he does agree with her testimony up until the point of the mention of that slap. McMillan says he made the comment, quote, "I'm an idiot" on IT. He says he laughed it off with Cooper and was talking with his hands during that time. He says this is something he does quite often. His attorney weighing in after the verdict was announced this afternoon.
And if you look at the video, you can see that Ms. Cooper's head does not move. So it's totally consistent that there was not contact at all.
Again, Mayor McMillan found not guilty on that charge. Judge Reid telling us the evidence wasn't clear enough for him to make any other decision in the case. In Bay Minette, I'm Blake Brown, WKRG News 5.
Everyone with the WKRG News 5 app gets breaking news like this before anyone else, and you can download it if you haven't already for free.
Raines, what's going on this weekend out there in Houston?
Not a whole lot. I'm actually taking my son to the range for the first time. I'm going to put a few rounds down range and see how he does.
Well, that's
about time he learned it.
Lock your car.
Of course.
All right. Y'all have a good weekend.
You too. Everybody be safe. Wear a mask.
You did an interview in which you said, it's not the worst thing to slap a woman now and then. As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist. It's better to do it with an open hand. Mm. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You haven't?
No. Not at all.
You think it's good to slap a woman?
No, I don't think it's good.
You don't think it's bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it. Yeah.
What would merit it?
Well, if you have tried everything else, and women are pretty good at this, they can't leave it alone. They don't want to have the last word, and you give them the last word, but they're not happy with the last word. They want to say it again, and get into a really provocative situation. Then I think it's absolutely right.
What would